Hello, and welcome to another Bleach video on my channel. Today, I'll be talking about The Holy Newborn, the most recent episode of Bleach, the 1000-Year Blood War anime. This was a pretty good episode. Just like last week's, it was a bit more on the low-key side of things, not having fights or anything like that. This whole episode was basically just setup, which is really all that these first few episodes have been when you really think about it, but these last two in particular have been more of a calm before the storm sort of thing. But enough rambling. Let's now get into the actual review, once again starting at the very beginning. This week's episode starts off in the Serete, where we see Kisuke standing on the same platform as last week, telling everyone to put out their hands. And as he does so, an orb forms in his right hand. Everyone else gets an orb as well, and they are then instructed to focus their spiritual pressure into the orbs. Everyone there, from the captains to lieutenants, seated officers and Quincy's, do so, and an arch starts to form. Now, I missed last week, so I didn't get a chance to talk about it, but I really do like the addition of the seated officers and other Shinigami being there to help create the gate. The manga's version of events, where it's just the captains, lieutenants, Quincy's, and visors, works as well, but something about the anime's version just feels more special to me. It also allowed Kyoraku to give a pretty cool speech in last week's episode, so there's that as well. From there, it shows Mayori's lab, where the computers start going off, showing the error message, unknown anomaly detected. Outside on the platform, Kisuke and the others see the parts of the Quincy city that took over the Serete start to go up towards the sky, and everyone starts to freak out a little bit. Shinji asks if there are any limits to what the enemy can do, and Kisuke mentions that they must hurry. Now this scene is pretty similar to the manga, but also a little different at the same time. Since the order of events have been rearranged some, comparing this to the manga is not that easy, or at least it's not anymore, but I will try it anyways. So this scene is basically adapting a scene from chapter 627, where basically the same thing happens. The main difference here is that you have the scenes in the lab, which were not in the manga. Also, this line from Shinji has been tweaked just a bit. Instead of it being, just as we're finally about to finish building One Measly Gate, it's, and here we're just getting started building One Measly Gate. Small dialogue change, but I just wanted to mention it because it stood out to me a little bit. After the opening, it's back to the Royal Palace, once again showing Grimmjow's return to the series. He confronts Ichigo and gets ready to have a fight with him, only for Nell, in her adult form, to show up and knock him over. The scene that follows is very funny. So Nell jumps at Ichigo, knocking him to the ground, and explains to him that Kisuke created a bracelet for her that will let her switch between her kid and adult forms. It then cuts to poor Orihime, and I swear, her face and the subsequent interaction with Chad killed me. This is like the only time in the entire series where Orihime has a jealous reaction like this, and I'm not gonna lie, I find it kind of adorable, and I don't know why. After Nell and Grimmjow have a little back and forth, Ribuka and Yukio show up, with Ribuka yelling at everyone to get inside the box. The two of them also have a brief interaction with Ichigo, which was nice to see. Once they're all inside the box, Yoruichi asks Ichigo what part he needs explained, and he goes off, telling her that he needs everything explained, and Ichigo's face here is absolutely hilarious. Funny Ichigo moments tend to be some of my favorites, mainly because he's usually so serious that it makes the funny moments stand out more. And speaking of which, I absolutely love that they included some humorous moments, because the anime has been cutting down on some of the humor. For the most part, I'm good with it, but I'm not gonna lie, there have been a few times where I have missed the humor, so it was nice to have a few laughs this episode. While Ichigo and Yoruichi are talking, Yukio turns on a screen that has a diagram on it, and Yoruichi explains the situation. I don't have many thoughts on this whole thing, aside from the fact that I enjoy the mention of the Valley of Screams from the first movie. I remember reading the manga for the first time last year, and when I got to that moment where the Valley of Screams is mentioned, I thought that was cool, especially because I love the first movie. So seeing it canonized in some form was nice. But anyways, it goes back to the Serete, and it's shown that the gate is starting to break down. Nanao mentions that they don't have enough spiritual pressure, saying that what they really needed was Ukitake, as no other captain's spiritual pressure came close. She seems to start losing some hope, only for Lisa and the other visors to show up, adding in their spiritual pressure. Though, of course, that's still not enough. While in his lab, Mayuri comments that they clearly don't have enough spiritual pressure, asking why they don't use the spiritual pressure amplifier. Now, based on last week's episode, I almost thought that they were going to cut the amplifier bit, but no, they kept it, which makes total sense considering the situation. After Mayuri turns the amplifier on, the gate starts to reform, and there's this brief moment with Shunsui where he says that he won't let Jushiro's sacrifice go in vain, which made me a bit sad. It also makes me wonder what exactly is going on with Ukitake, because it looks like he's still attached to Mimihage, but at this point Yhwach has already absorbed the Soul King and Mimihage, so I'm not sure how that could be. It then cuts back to Garganta, where Yoruichi is setting out an attack plan for the group. There's a funny moment between Orihime and Ribuka. Grimmjow and Ichigo talk a little bit, and then we're back at the Soul King's palace, where Uryu, along with the Schutzstaffel, are watching Yhwach's transformation into this. They are all understandably horrified, with Askin having the best reaction out of the group. I'll admit that I'm not the biggest fan of this version of Yhwach. Ever since I first read the manga, I've always felt that this design was a bit much, but I also don't hate it. Plus, it doesn't look too bad in the anime so far, so I'm good with it. Here, the royal palace starts to fall apart, and Yhwach starts to reinvent our nation, as he puts it, and creates a Quincy cityscape that will become known as Varveld. Though, of course, we don't get to see it just yet. After Eye Catches, we see Ichigo and crew getting ready to go back into the royal palace. This scene is basically the same as it is in chapter 627, with Ichigo telling Yukio and Ribuka to stay put. I like the interaction between Ribuka and Ichigo here. It's a nice scene. It shows how thoughtful and mature Ichigo actually is, and this moment where he looks at her and thanks her made me smile so much. Like, the way she blushes and gets all flustered is so cute. The next couple moments are really just building up to the reveal of Varveld, showing Ichigo's group leaving the box, and then the gate in the Serete opening up, only instead of them all seeing the royal palace, it's this dark, eerie-looking Quincy city. And I have to say that I really like the look of Varveld here. The black sky with the purple tint looks pretty cool. Now, while I didn't mind the red sky with blue tint from Core 2, I am glad that things will be changing up from here on out. First we see Ichigo's group, then the captains and everyone else, and they're all just reacting to the landscape. Everything that happens here is basically the same as in the manga, with everyone realizing that the royal palace has fallen and been rebuilt into the Quincy city before them. Really though, this whole final bit of the episode is basically just one-to-one to the manga. I even looked to see if there were any small changes, and there aren't, which means that I don't have much commentary here. Not just because it's so much like the manga, but also because I admittedly don't have very strong feelings about this part of the story, aside from thinking that the way that the castle comes up out of the ground is pretty cool. From there, it shows the inside of Yhwach's throne room. And I just want to say that I really like how this place looks. The red backlighting looks really cool, and I like how the Schutzstaffel are all in shadow somewhat. It looks really nice. Hashwolf tells Yuhabak that Ichigo and the Gotei 13 have arrived, and Yuhabak says stuff. Hashwolf then says that they will kill them all. You get this shot of Yuha, and then the episode ends. And that's basically it for the video. But real quick, I do want to bring up this week's end poem. This time around, the character is Renji, and he's saying, "The fire that drips from fangs does not fade. The blade burns away the fields, revealing my hidden friend." This is actually a poem from one of the volumes, volume 73 to be specific. All of the end poems this course so far have been new, so it was kind of cool getting a volume poem again. And with Renji being the focus this week, this likely means that he's going to get some attention in the next episode, and I'm quite interested to see how this goes. The trailer and opening have both shown Renji in some sort of battle, so I'm excited to see how this plays out. Now, based on one particular shot in the opening, it looks like Renji might be going through it in the next episode, but I guess we'll see. And with that, I'm done talking about Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War, episode 32, The Holy Newborn. This was another awesome episode. Sure, it didn't have exciting fights or anything like that, but that's fine with me. I appreciated having a little breathing room before everything gets crazy again, which will likely be happening very soon. As usual, I hope you all enjoyed this. If you did, that's awesome, but if not, well, thanks for watching anyways. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully, I'll see you next time. Goodbye for now.